Hello and welcome to Needing a Meeting. My name is Carol. I'll be your host today, and I have in the studio here Tara. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you? And Ben.
I'm actually not good today.
Really?
Yeah, I'm having a huff day. I'm having a huff day. I'm having a really tough day, actually, emotionally. I'm really upset about something.
Okay. Well, that's why I'm calling it Freewheelin Friday. We can talk about anything.
Right on. I don't want to just start having diarrhea of the mouth or anything. So whatever you had, whatever you want to say, I can hold it until it's appropriate to share.
Have you seen how I interact on here? Speaking of diarrhea of the mouth, come on. What do you think this is? A meow? Oh, is this thing?
Hello.
How's my volume?
I think it's good.
Okay.
Hello, Matrix Rabbit, Rolling Stone. Hey, Shannon Smith. Hey, Becca Jean. Good to see you guys. How's everybody doing in the chat? Hey, Monique. Good to see you. So how are you, Ben?
I don't know yet. How are you doing?
I just woke up from a nap and my husband's not feeling well.
Oh.
Stomach
his stomach.
Oh, I hope it's not what I had. That wasn't fun.
Well, whatever it is, it's got him doubled over on the bathroom floor.
We lost Tara. Tara.
We did.
You didn't lose me. I just feel rude eating on camera, and I have to get. It's like I'm
sustenance.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to be rude.
You have to eat. You don't eat, you're gonna die. Come on now.
It's true. It's true. I need to eat, and I want to be here. I need to be here. Tara needs a meeting today.
Tara needs a meeting today.
Desperately.
Well, I am drinking a meal replacement protein shake type thing. So,
cheers.
Cheers.
This is oatmeal.
Okay. Looks good.
It's got almond butter and butter for the calories and salt in it.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Big bang for the buck.
I would say. That's giving me some ideas.
Yeah, I think there's 570 calories in this mason jar right now.
Cool.
Yeah, hopefully it'll make me feel better.
Rolling Stone says we're all humans, just eat. And Shannon says she's sorry that my husband's sick. I'm sorry too, poor thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's pretty poopy.
It is. Yeah. So what's going on? Were you going to say something, Ben?
No, Ben was not.
Okay. Yes, one's for Steve. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
Have all those things. Hold on. Be right back. Okay. Yes, thank you guys. So yeah, I've been kind of fighting off a little. I don't know if it's just allergies or if it's just all the weird weather we've been having, or if I'm actually coming down with some kind of springtime cold or what. But yeah, I think it's allergies.
Yeah, I've been getting nailed with allergies lately. Hit or miss, really. It's odd. I'll be fine at my house. I'll go down to work, which is 2 miles. It's in the same biome and everything. And yeah, I'll just cack up a lung just about.
Wow. Oh, well, I guess it's good it's Friday. He doesn't have to go to work tonight. And yeah. Almond butter, oats butter, and what else? Oh, she's getting something to write it down.
Salt. It's just 2 tablespoons of almond butter, about a half a tablespoon of butter, and salt.
within the oats. Now, did you cook the oats or is it just oats?
I cooked it.
Okay.
Yeah, my stomach can't handle the
Okay.
the raw form. Overnight oats, I can do overnight oats, but I just what I do is I take the mason jar, I put I measure out a serving with my scale of oats, and then put a cup of water in it, and then I put this inside my crock pot. I have a tiny crock pot, and I fill the crock pot with a water bath around the mason jar, and then just let it go for about 90 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty amazing.
I learned it in the last place I lived because I had a kitchenette. I had a shared kitchen. And if I just didn't want to deal with sharing the kitchen, like I learned how to make everything in a crock pot in my studio. I have my own kitchen now. I have a great apartment, but I still don't have like certain things that I need, like a little sauce pot to make oatmeal. So I still make it in my crock pot.
Why do you use almond butter? Any particular reason? Just to avoid sugar, or?
Well, even if I got peanut butter, I would get the sugar-free kind, like just peanuts and salt, or almonds and salt. I prefer almonds to peanuts because I feel like they're easier on my digestion.
Okay.
But with the cost of food these days, I might be switching to peanut butter just to save a few bucks.
Yeah, I remember my doctor had me switch to almond butter, and I couldn't remember why. It's the reason why I asked.
Oh, interesting. I do know that peanuts are a legume. They're not actually nuts. They're like a different beast than other types of nuts. I think for me, I think my digestion, it just works a little better with almonds. I might just switch, like get a jar of peanut butter and then get a jar of almond butter and kind of switch back and forth.
Right on.
Just save money.
Shannon, it's 90 degrees or 97 in Florida. Wow. I've got pink salt. Yeah, why wouldn't pink salt work? I think it would.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pink salt's great.
Yeah.
I think anyway.
I've been fighting off my week. Are you using your cream? Okay. Here in South Texas. Hey, Kenneth, you know what? My mom lived in Alamo, Texas. Are you anywhere near there? We're getting smoke from Mexico as they're burning the fields for planting. Plus, it's nasty, humid, and hot. Yeah, they have sugar. They have a sugar crop. They're in Alamo, where my mom works, and it's like black snow when they burn off those sugar fields to plant a new crop. I wonder if that's the crop they're planting where you are, Kenneth. Good to see you. I'd have to put it on from head to toe. That's too much, but I'm going to take some aspirin. Okay. Show me some what?
I think she said, show me the teat of an almond. Like, I think she's talking about almond milk and like nut milks and oat milks and stuff like that.
Okay.
which you can make with it's true. You don't actually milk the nuts. It's like you can make it with a blender though. I've made almond milk in a blender before.
I'll just put that up there just for grins. Many days of rain, Matrix, miserable. Yeah, thank goodness we've got some sunshine and not a lot of wind today. We live on the top of a mountain almost, and the wind just whips across here. It's pretty brutal. And we have a lot of wind for some reason. They say that it's not possible to do wind power in Arkansas. Well, they have not been to our farm because it would be possible here. Many days of rain. Let's see. I have electric burner, tea kettle, etc. But cast iron on the roof of my van cooks egg, meat, fish, even bread. That's amazing, Becca Jean. cleaned 2 houses. The second one was super dusty. No, not that we own 2 houses. Ah, gotcha. Super dusty, yeah. I show up and Ben hides.
Yeah.
Says Chris. Yeah. Maybe we could could be sugarcane. They plant all kinds of stuff down there. Yeah, because it's so warm. You can wear shorts in that part of the country in January.
Mm.
It's that warm a lot of times. They do have some cold, but not. It's mostly warm there in South Texas. Oh my! Here we go. I love the book too, Monique. Just what?
Did you just eat a peanut?
No, I just smelled it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Here we go. We're off and running on the Oh man.
Lord Kiss Freak's gonna kill me.
He's been trying, hadn't he? Someone said it yesterday. I think it was Cosmic. Hello, Zelda. I got sick of being controlled by a drug and all that goes along with it. Yeah.
You know, you would think I'd be able to say no, but I can't.
The December flip-flops are festive. Yeah, but they are. That's great. Got tincture in that coffee? Chris wants to know. Oh no. Here we go.
It's good. It's good. Keep on. I'm fine. I'm just reading a book.
Don't lie to us, Ben.
Oh my Lanta.
Why did I do that? Because Lord Kiss Freak's here, that's why.
We're yes, mostly warm. We joke the city has a sign they put up on the lawn one day a year, winter. Yeah. It's cold here at the North Sea, still love it. That's great. If you love cold weather, that's a good thing. I happen to be one of those that's not so great, big on cold weather because I get cold. I don't like to be cold. I can tolerate heat a lot more than I can cold. Must be because I was born in Mississippi. Why do you hurt yourself, Ben? Shannon wants to know.
Because Lord Kiss Freak.
Because Lord Kiss Freak, yes.
Yes. Period. That's.
At least Kristen does 2 peanuts at a time on her lives for me.
She would. I told her I have to do one, then do like another one 5 minutes later. Now Kristen is outrunning me. Oh, good God.
Rolling Stone asked the very same thing. The very same thing as Shannon. Why do you hurt yourself, Ben? I miss 4 seasons. When I lived in Southern California, that was something I missed too. Fall and spring are pretty special times. I'm from the Netherlands, Haarlem. I hope I said that right. Ben, stop, A. Kenneth says.
You know what I want to know?
What's that?
I want to know what people do when something happens that's totally out of their control, has nothing to do with me. Okay, let me backtrack. Do you remember it was about 2 months ago when I was like, there's this secret, someone put a secret on me and I can't tell. I don't want to air this person's stuff, but everything came out finally, and everybody's aware now. Thank God. I'm so thankful that I don't have to hold on to it anymore. But it was super hurtful. And it just I just found out that it came out today, and I'm angry, and there's nothing can be done to change it. It'll never be fixed. There's nothing I can do about it. It's not even anything to do with me. It's just something that happened in my family. And I'm like at a loss for words at sort of processing it. I've talked with my therapist ad nauseum about this. I'm curious, and what I want to know is how people deal with anger when something happens that's out of your control. I mean, I know the answers, right? But it's still like this emotion of being angry is just so intense for me right now. And I know I'm going to be okay, but I'll just say, I'll tell you generally what happened. Someone in my family got married, didn't tell anybody, didn't invite anybody to the wedding. And that's hurtful to me. And they told me about it before it was going to happen. I wasn't invited to the wedding. They honeymooned in the city that I live in and didn't reach out when they were here. So I'm just like, and blamed it on me, like because of the lifestyle that I live. But nobody in the family was invited, and so it's like I'm just like,
what lifestyle? You're 3 years clean.
Exactly. I mean, I did live in my car for 5 years. I did fall off the face of the planet, but so did this person.
Yeah.
Fell off the face of the planet with respect to everybody in my family. And now they're saying they don't want me to take it personally. They feel like people would have felt entitled to be at the wedding if they would have known about it. And then told me not to tell anybody. And only told me because they didn't want to run into me in the city that I live in. That's why they told me. They didn't want to run into me on their honeymoon and then have me be like, what are you doing here?
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably shared TMI, but I'm upset.
Yeah.
I'm upset.
Yeah.
It's not something that can ever be fixed. Like,
yeah.
You only have one wedding, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think family, in a way, I think entitlement is kind of a strong word, but to say that I didn't want to tell anybody because everyone would feel entitled to be at my wedding, I'm like, it's your wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Anyways, I feel better now that I've gotten it out.
Yeah.
And now that I don't have to keep it a secret anymore, that feels better. Like everybody knows.
Yeah.
But it's like, it just feels gross seeing the impact that it has had on people. And
yeah.
Is that why you were having a bad day, or is there something else on top of it?
I think so. I mean, I was feeling okay, but this person told me they were going to tell the rest of the family this past weekend, but I've talked with people and nobody seemed to know anything. Everybody was just acting normal.
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, did they not tell? And so it's been this weird dynamic where it's like, maybe the person didn't tell or what, but I finally expressed today to I was like, I'm having a really hard time with something. I can't tell you what it is because I promised I wouldn't, but and then I started getting asked a bunch of questions and I was like, well, I'm not going to lie. Yes. And then finally they said, oh, is it about so-and-so getting married? And I was like, And so it just, I don't know. I was okay. I think it is just the anger of having to have kept a secret that was hurtful to me in the first place.
Yes.
And then now it's out in the open and people are upset, and trying not to be and trying to let it go. But it's like family functions aren't really going to be the same for a while, I don't think.
Yeah.
If they even happen, now it's like people don't even want to see each other, and it's just it's sad. Makes me sad.
Well, shoot.
Are you okay,
unfortunately, there's no way. Whoa. There's no way through it, but through it.
Thought I had it muted.
Yeah, right.
Hey, Sarah.
Right. Hi, Sarah.
How are you? Do you guys know? Does everybody know everybody here?
I have never met Sarah. Sarah, I'm Tara.
And this has been
Sarah.
Nice to meet you.
Get to where I have better Wi-Fi.
Okay. So I want to get this comment up. There's a part 1 and a part 2 from Becca Jean. Went to a new psych yesterday. She was pretty crass. Looking at my history and seeing my negative reactions from meds, they have kept me on clonazepam 14 and a half years. Whenever I say I want off, they give more. Wow. I hate when people don't listen that are in those positions. They give more, like opiates. I wanted off and they gave me more. I couldn't go to detox because it was prescribed medication. So she's rude, blamed me. So I've been already cutting down. Wow. Becca Jean, I'm seeing some ones for you. That is, I'm sorry. That's awful. And a Rolling Stone says to your situation, this is someone who doesn't deserve to be related to you. Tara, I'm sorry you're hurting. How are you not supposed to take it personally? Madness. Yeah, I agree.
It's 100% personal. 100% personal.
I mean, they made it personal.
Honestly, I would have rather just not known, to be frank. Like, just don't tell me anything. Don't tell me that you're going to be in my city. Yeah.
Right.
And then I knew she was here the whole time. I knew the person was here, and they didn't reach out.
Well, that whole thing is just, and then to be made the bad guy.
Yeah, and then to have it twisted back on me to make it seem that they were like, well, I haven't seen you for years and I didn't want there to be drama on my honeymoon. I was like, when have I, like, I'm not, I've never been that. It would have been, a 20 or 30 minute cup of coffee could have been worked in. But it's what makes, I think it's just a hard thing to accept, which is what I need to do. I just need to accept it and move on with my life. I think the thing that's making it hard to accept is that I didn't actually do anything. And it was my whole family. It wasn't just me. It was like, nobody else was invited. One person. Right. One person, and everyone else was just kept in the dark. And then I had to keep it a secret for 6 weeks. And I'm just like,
has this person always been ugly like that to say those things to you?
No, I haven't seen this person in like 4 or 5 years. And the last time was at a family function. It was like a family reunion type of thing. And everything was left fine. Like they did express feeling like they didn't fit in. But to take such a turn as to estrange oneself from the entire family and then twist it and make it seem like we're all horrible people is beyond me. Like it's really, it's sad is what it is. And I hope that this person gets some help. It's just, it's not something that can ever be undone. And it just feels like,
it feels familiar to me. I have a family, Carol knows.
Yeah.
That it's projection and gaslighting, and for whatever reason they need to believe that narrative of you, or of the situation to be okay with themselves. But I mean, I don't know the whole situation, but
she was told 2 months ago by this family member that she was getting married, but she wasn't supposed to tell anybody because they weren't going to invite anybody to the wedding. And then
that's ugly.
Yeah.
And the only reason that she told me was because she was honeymooning where I live. 2 miles away from my apartment is where the hotel is. They were 2 miles away. The only reason they told me is because they didn't want to run into me while they were here. And I'm just like, I would have much preferred that they just didn't tell me at all. Like, I'd rather just still be in the dark about it.
Yeah.
It's just like multiple left hooks,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, putting you in a bad situation too, which that's
Yeah, and then I had to wonder, like, well, is there going to be people who are really important to me upset with me for not telling them? But that worked out nice. Nobody's upset with me. Nobody's upset with me.
That wasn't your responsibility to tell.
Yeah.
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 Well, how did it even come up with you? I mean, did it just tell you out of the dark, or
because they were in her town? Yeah.
I have, within the past several months, have reconnected with a family member of mine, and the family member is the one that got invited to the wedding. And so this family member had to hide it from me for a long period of time. But then the one who got married wanted to join in on a conversation with us 2 months ago, because we have like phone dates every Friday, me and this family member. Mm-hmm. It's my sister that I have phone dates with. And so the family member joined us, and that's where the information was disclosed. And then I said, well, do you want me to tell people? And they asked me, please don't. It's nobody's business. And I was like, whoa. And I said, yeah, it would be great to see you when you're here. And that didn't happen.
Wow. Becca Jean says, I like my therapist. Maybe she can pull some strings and get me someone else. It's just the attitude. I'm the only one with my health in the best interest I get. Yeah. Like Tommy says, you have to be your own advocate a lot of times. I'm sorry.
Time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true.
With medicine and lawyers, anything like that, if you're not advocating for yourself, they certainly aren't,
Yeah.
No matter how much you pay them.
Yeah. And they're the ones getting paid to be just that. Your advocate.
I'm going to try to get it on my computer because I think it will be better, but
okay.
You know how bad I am at technology. I don't want to cause anything weird. Hopefully I'll be right back. I emailed it to myself. We'll see what happens here. Maybe I'll be on both for a minute.
Okay, that's fine. Izzy says, makes me think of that quote Lovett shared this morning, something like, it's important to me to be known for more than just what happened to me. It hurts to be treated like that other by our own. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it does.
Izzy.
Interesting. It said that my browser blocked this. It says your browser does not support Restream. Okay, I'm trying again. I'm sorry. I'm just going to mute myself till I figure this out.
Okay. Ben, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay.
Now that I had a gallon of milk.
Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah, my mouth still hurts, but yeah, it's a good endorphin dump. I will say that.
Wow. Insane, you.
But yeah, that is a good question. How do you deal with anger like that? And I'm trying to, while I've been in pain, I've been trying to.
Term for it, hand grenade. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to pick in the back of my wooden head how I would deal with that. Now, I think that on so many levels, there's so many things wrong with that. First of all, you're being told to keep a secret for something which you know is going to come out. So you're already in a losing situation there. When everybody finds out, they're going to say, well, you knew. Why didn't you tell me? Don't you love me? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that may just be from growing up with a narcissist, too. But you have that element. You have the element where she's being made the bad dudette. And just how the whole thing came up. Yeah, because you've been asked to keep the secret for so long, and now you're having the fallout of it.
Which I'm really thankful. Nobody's upset. Like, the person I was most concerned about had told me, this is not your fault. This has nothing to do with you, and I'm not upset with you at all. And that was the biggest relief. That was actually what I was most worried about.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want it to compromise my relationship with anybody else. And so many people said you don't owe loyalty to this person. Like, they don't deserve your loyalty,
No.
But I did say that I wouldn't say anything, and so I felt like I had to keep my word.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ordinarily, with me,
Really
I find
sucks.
that how I deal with anger, or what seems to help, it's a violation of your values, so some yada yada yada. I usually try to take some step, however small, to correct the problem. I mean, if it's a politician that's getting stupid, I'll send them an email. Will they ever see it? No, probably not. But just the act of typing it out and then having to go back and remove all the cuss words and then, but just that act is a little cathartic or a little helpful to me. But in this situation, you can't rail on the person. Well, maybe you could.
Yeah.
You could tell them you were disappointed.
This person clearly does not want a relationship with me. And so, I'm not going to, I've done that in the past where I'm like, oh, win him over. I'll kill him with kindness. No, screw that. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that anymore.
Right on.
I support you with that.
Yeah, I do too.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I had to be burned many times to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I need to write about it, meditate, continue to work with my therapist. It probably just needs one more session, if I'm being honest. Like, I've already processed a lot of it with my therapist, and talked with friends about it. And it's just the fact that it came out today. I think it came out this weekend, but I didn't know it came out until just today. And so it's kind of fresh, and like, I know what to do, it's not my first rodeo in terms of recovery and having to deal with BS. But it doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah. Well, and at the same time, when you're angry, a lot of times you know what you to do, but you can't see the forest through the trees kind of thing. And
yeah, Zelda, I honestly, I don't know who knows. I mean, I know that, like, the immediate family is now aware. Some of us, I don't know if everybody in the immediate family is, but some of us are aware. And I would imagine that none of the extended family knows, which just is heartbreaking to me.
When I can't deal with the anger, I breathe in and try to suck all the red out of my body. Then I blow out a red cloud in my head. Keep doing that and work your way through the color spectrum, Tara.
Like a rainbow, like paint a rainbow in my head.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks, the Rolling Stone.
Yeah. Helps to visualize the red leaving your body.
Mm.
Then the orange, etc. Just a thought.
I think it makes it. Oh, sorry.
A Kenneth says, just a thought. This has nothing to do with you and everything else to do with them. Your anger will only affect you. They don't care.
No, they don't care. I think the gaslighting is probably why I'm so angry right now.
Yeah.
Because like they say it's not personal, but then they turn around and twist the whole thing to make it seem like I'm a horrible person.
Right. Yeah. Like you're to blame for them being rude and uncaring and unfeeling and and insensitive, Yeah. Blaming you for their bad behavior. That's straight up gaslighting.
Blaming everyone else. It's everyone else. It's because of everyone else that they made this decision. And I just happened to be someone who had a conversation with them, and I know I'm gonna be okay. Like I'm okay now. It's just like, man, I was kind of like, I felt a little shaky there. I was just like seeing red. Talking about letting the red release. It's like, man. But it's a positive thing that it's out now, and really relieving to me that nobody's upset with me aside from the person who got married, and that's fine with me. I can live with that.
Yeah. I would imagine that everybody's kind of feeling like similar feelings to what you're feeling toward that person. Like, she can go crawl under a rock as far as we care.
Right. Yep. And I still love this person, right? It's like, but I gotta let it go, accept it, and move on. Because someone said, the anger is only going to hurt me. And I agree with that. And it's not something that I want to give my energy to anymore.
Right on.
Yeah. What do they say? Anger is like taking poison, expecting the other person to die.
I like that. Yeah.
No one can torture us quite like our family.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been
in
contact
Rebecca
with a lot of my family for a long time. My mom
Did you say you had no contact?
I have been no contact.
You have been no contact. Okay.
Yeah.
And I find myself defending that so much to people, and it's frustrating. I'm not punishing my mom. I mean, actually, it's almost their choice. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. It's just, it has nothing to do with punishment or resentment. I understand she did the best she could, and she had a rough childhood too. It's the fact that she's still doing the same destructive, damaging things that she was doing to me. And she'll continue to do that to my children and all of that. So it's just me wanting to be better and needing better from people that I surround myself with,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But it's hurtful when people act like, oh, you're so horrible because you cut off your mom, you're a terrible daughter. It causes a lot of anger. I know you dealt with that with your brother, Carol.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what about a terrible mother? They exist. Terrible mothers exist.
Oh, yeah. Horrible mothers.
Oh, yes.
But then I gave you birth. I don't know how many times I heard, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lovely one.
Yeah, it really it really gets interesting when you have a narcissist, a mother who has narcissistic trait. Well, actually is a narcissist, because she'll run down the you're not as good as your brothers and blah blah blah. The constant comparison, the triangulation, and the second you say, I think I'm going to have to put a boundary here, because hearing this kind of stuff, hearing you talk about other people, hearing you talk about me like that, it's not doing me any good. So I'm just going to have to hang up the phone from now on when you start to do that. And then she'll push and you do it. And then she'll call back, you don't love me. You never loved me. Oh, why are you so mean to me? And it just flips back and forth from classic narcissism to, to what you were describing.
Well, and they involve everybody. They love to involve
Yeah.
everybody when they do that. Like oftentimes she won't even call me, but she'll call everybody else,
Bing.
you know, like, and she has things, and then like usually we just do it for her because she's so unhinged, you know, whatever. But she asked my husband to move a log, and he like had his foot in the car. He had taking my son to an orthodontist appointment, and he was like, "No, Katie, I'm not moving the log." And it was like the no heard around the world. You know, she called my sister in France. Like she told everybody that he wouldn't help his disabled mother-in-law move a log.
Oy vey.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think it's wonderful that you can laugh about it. I'm not laughing right now.
Well, there was a long time where you weren't laughing.
No, there was a long time where I was very angry, and I was like in Al-Anon, and I was doing everything I could to try to make sense of anything. And I look back at those moments, and I'm sure bless those people, I'm sure they were like, what is wrong with you? You know, like, because I just wanted it to be different. And, growing up in my head, it was different. And so that's been hard for me to navigate, because I have to grieve the childhood that I thought I had, because it wasn't like that. Like as kids, we're very adaptable. And so sure, I have great memories, and I can look back, and I mean, I was extremely like codependent and weirdly connected to my sister, who I'm also no contact with. But it was almost like survival. Like I had no choice, they were going to take me down, and they were determined.
And they were hard at it too.
Right.
Hard at it.
So it was a weird thing to come to terms with. And then there was a lot that me and my husband had to work through, because he felt like I kept him, muzzled in the corner, and I didn't let him confront some of the atrocities that my family was doing to him, because we were all so unhealthy and sick. And he came from a pretty healthy family. Yeah. And then I had some resentment on that, because I didn't. So it was really complicated to unpack, and I still do. It does make me sad, but if I don't laugh at it, I'll cry. I mean, I was no contact with my dad for a year, and he died, and we were no contact. And then a lot of family members took that opportunity to blame me for his death. He had been an alcoholic since he was 15, and he had been actively drinking himself to death. And I only went no contact almost because of my son, who I didn't know he had autism at the time, was wanting to beat him up because of the way he talked to me and stuff like that. And so I was like, this is so bad. Like, no,
Yeah.
But all the things I overlooked, and the way I made his life work and function, and, so he could come and stay with me for 3 months on end, in my house, and disrupt everything, and leave pills on the floor when I had children. Like I accepted so much, so much inappropriateness, and just as an attempt to love him and stuff. And then I don't know, it's pretty bad. I was definitely the family scapegoat. So everything was my fault.
Yeah. Yeah. And not only were you the scapegoat, but before circumstances forced you into the corner that you came out swinging from, they were letting you just keep all the kids while they did whatever, and having you do anything and everything that they wanted you to do, and you dutifully did it.
I was more than happy to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
watched that. I watched that for years, and it used to bug me.
And
It
then
used
they
to bother
blamed
me a
me
lot.
for killing my grandmother. So then I have to laugh at that. I'm like, one more and I'm a serial killer, because it's just like, and they actually said that I couldn't see the kids until I apologized for what I did, murdering my grandmother, that I didn't murder, but anyway. They said I dehydrated her and caused a stroke. She was 90, and but it's not what happened. We would still be having a grand life if she was alive today. We had a good time. She was a wonderful person. And a lot of what I
Yeah.
did was for her. And so then when she died, they still expected me to continue doing that, and
Oh my gosh.
right. And it's not sustainable. Like
Mm.
they would come and make messes in her house, and I was her person, so I would clean up their
Yeah.
mess. This is a
Yeah.
small example. So after she
Oh,
died, my sister was there, and she calls my other sister in France and is like, Sarah's kids are here making a mess. She's the one making a mess, like allowing her kids to make messes. So I call because my 15-year-old is upset, and he's like, well, what does she mean? Like, we just sit on the front porch because it's so uncomfortable in my grandmother's house. And so I called my sister, and she goes, well, that's not what I mean. I mean, you're here. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be cleaning up after you. Like, totally. And she doesn't see anything wrong with that,
oh crap.
Yeah.
Right.
It's unreal.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. You were their little work mule.
Right.
Yeah.
God,
And I
goodness.
was,
I'm
I
glad
was,
you're not that anymore.
I am glad I'm not that too. Very glad I'm not. But then
Yeah.
I still miss them, and then
Yeah.
that's the reality where I just sort of have to span that, because I will always love my mom. And then that's where I know that I'm not trying to punish her. And I understand she had a really hard life. What makes me mad is she's not trying to be better.
Yeah.
She is actively like making it worse, and like living in a way, changing the story, and just like, and she has a rough life. She has a tough story. You don't need to make it any worse, but
Mm.
she still just like rubs that salt in, and is just a very bitter person.
Mm.
Mm.
I relate to what you're saying, Sarah, about like still loving them and still like kind of yearning for a relationship. You didn't say that, but that's kind of what
I
I'm
do.
thinking.
Absolutely, I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that, and it sucks.
It does.
Yeah.
And I even miss the unhealthy relationships. And
Yeah.
that is where it
Yeah.
gets a little tricky,
Yeah.
and then that's where like I used to try to remind myself, hey, it's okay. It's like craving comfort food. If you were fed crazy pie your whole life, like then you're like, man, I am like so ready for some crazy pie. You don't realize how stuck you are on the drama, and like how addicted you can be to
Yeah.
that. Like I
Yeah.
Yeah.
literally was, they would put me to task. Like I thought I was this strong person, like making decisions. I thought my sister was sort of like meek and mild. Really, she was the one making the decisions and like telling me what to do. And I was like
Yeah.
doing her, I was her bitch. And that
Yeah.
took a
You were.
lot. It took a lot for me to recognize, because Carol and other people could see it and I couldn't see it. I was like, here I am, this strong person taking care of my family. Well, no, I'm not. But so.
Yeah, it's amazing how oftentimes that's the case. We're in a situation, other people can see it crystal clear, and yet, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you don't want to see it.
Yep.
And my husband, like right away, had issues with this one sister because we were unhealthily codependent. Of course, we were raised in a lot of trauma. So we were each other's consistency, and we're less than 2 years apart. But that took a lot to unravel. And I had a new baby and I was a young mother. I definitely needed my husband, but there was so much conflict between him and my sister. I was finally like, look, if you both were drowning, I would save her. I said that to him. I spent years apologizing, and then like even more years realizing, having to understand what I was saying. I was saying I would save her over myself,
Yeah.
and
I could see that.
it was that level of unhealthy.
It was.
So.
It was. Yeah. Yeah. After a while of just seeing the dynamic, I was just like, it was incredulous.
Right.
Just unabashedly, unashamedly, just willing to just work you and use you to death.
Mm.
And then not like, I mean, not that credit is a thing, but then not even acknowledge like that I'm a human
Right.
being, you know,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Or I would probably still be in that situation, like had they not basically forced me out, you know, which is an odd thing to come to terms with for myself, because I want to think. But then, of course, I have my two boys are grown now, and one of them tells me, you know, that most of his trauma comes from being subjected to my sister and her husband. Like, he'll openly say that. And I know that's
Wow.
true for my other son
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's really hard, because I have that loyalty to my sister and to my family and that yearning and loving, but at what cost to my own children? Like, when you're trying to break these unhealthy dynamics in your family, you don't even realize that if those people aren't going to change, if those dynamics are going to continue to be unhealthy, then you're creating that same dynamic, even if you're not doing it, by allowing it to happen to your children, you know, because
Yeah.
they would have started treating my kids the way they treated me, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would have. Crazy pie feels like home, Shannon Smith says. Right. Crazy pie feels like home.
Yeah,
Right.
my therapist told me with dating, because I haven't dated for so long, she was like if it feels like home, if it feels really familiar, run. Is what
Right.
she told me. She's like, it should feel completely foreign. Like for me, it will feel completely foreign and kind of uncomfortable if it's a person that will be healthy for me.
My
You're
husband,
right.
Steve, yeah, you're so right. I was so scared and uncomfortable with Steve because he was so foreign to everything that I had known.
Mm.
And
Same
I
thing
mean,
with Shane. Yeah.
he is a wonderful husband and a great person. And but yeah, I was freaking out, but I was intrigued enough to stay. So
Right.
I
But
think
yeah,
that's something that's confusing to me. It's like, well, if it doesn't feel familiar and like home, like what's the drawing force that brings you together? You know,
well, you know, he's shown me kind of what home actually is supposed to look like.
well, intrigue for one, and interest, and then also the desire to create a different home. Because, like, you don't have to hate the home that I'm from, but I do have to acknowledge that it's an unhealthy home. And that's not the one that I want to create for my kids. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was not even attracted to Shane at first, you know. And then he has been like super patient. I mean, not that it's perfect by any means. And like, there's a bunch there. Like, he lost his dad, and then I lost my dad 6 months later. And his dad was a very healthy, wonderful man, you know, and my dad was kind of an alcoholic dirtbag. So like, I mean, but I still loved him. So like, I'm not, but that was hard, you know, because his dad was worthy of mourning and then mine wasn't, you know, and like all this, like what we were going through at the same time. So we separated for about a year. Like after that, he was in a real deep depression and I was just having a major existential crisis. And
Yeah.
but we remained friends and we managed to find our way back together. But anyway, it's just, it was
I'm glad
rough.
you guys did. I'm glad you guys did.
I'm glad we did too.
Seems like your relationship, at least I see him with a different kind of affection towards you than I saw before. But, you know, there was so much tension around your family.
Right.
It was palpable within your family.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of like mental illness and addiction and like child abuse and like abuse in my family that's normalized, and skeletons are kept in the closet, you know, a lot of dysfunction. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like even with the successful people or the, you know,
Yeah.
a nice home, you know, I had to deal with that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I live a happy childhood vicariously through Steve, and I just have
Right.
to it's a switch that I have to, before it gets fully turned on, I just have to turn off that you know, that going down that negative road of, all that I missed out on as a child, and all the oppression that I had to live under while he got to be a, kid and just a normal kid and do normal kid stuff,
Right.
and
And his dad was amazing. Like his dad, when I was a kid, was one of
yeah,
the best male figures that I had in my life
yeah,
too. So
yeah, 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 yeah,
Kristen, while you're in, I wanted to thank you for recommending this book. It's much easier to read when I get stuck on the ellipsis manual, the encyclopedia of hypnosis, and all that. This is much easier to read. Thank you so much. It's like a break time for my brain. Good book.
right. You're uncomfortable with genuine love and connection. I can totally feel that. I don't trust
yeah,
it. I'm like, well,
yeah,
what do you want from me? What are,
yeah,
because like there's no way I'm really lovable, and I'm still like so struggling with imposter syndrome and like all of that.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And I'm trying to like gently remind myself that I was taught wrong, as far as my self-worth was going. It's like I was taught that the color green was black. I'm like, oh no, that's not black, that's green. I was like having to relearn.
Let's see if I can get this in the camera. Oh, it's backwards, isn't it? Is it
I might see
backwards?
that.
Yeah,
I
it's
gotta see that.
backwards.
How did it get backwards? How did my thingy get backwards?
Aren't we all
Audio,
in reverse images?
You
video.
I can relate to that, Krista Melinda. My childhood home was not nearly so bad as many have it, but was conditional. Not so
Right.
much with my mom, but my mom was just gone a lot with her work and carpooling, and you know, and even at home she was kind of absent because there was so much to do at home, and yeah, yeah, I felt like there was a lot of like a lot of conditional stuff with my dad too, and I never could quite match up to whatever it was, whatever expectation might have been there, real or perceived, of not quite living up to snuff, up to standard, Yeah. 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 It wasn't the worst, but you
Mm.
know, it wasn't a great childhood. Let's just put it that
Well,
way.
something I learned about all of my trauma recovery is it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. So, like, some people can have it way worse and then have no trauma, like on how their nervous system responds. And then some people, as you could perceive it, could have happy childhoods and still have a lot of trauma. So it's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. So,
Right.
and not a lot of us, I don't think, grew up with any sort of like where anybody helped us understanding our emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I spent my first several months in recover or in therapy with one of those. Have you seen the emotional wheels where it's like a wheel and it's got all the different emotions on it? Do you know what
Something,
I'm talking about?
I don't know if I've seen a wheel, but does it tell you like where you feel them in your body too?
No, my therapist would ask like, well, how does it make you feel? Or how do you feel about it? And I'd be like,
Right.
like a deer in
Right.
headlights, like, I don't know. So I actually, one of my first therapists put one of those it just has like all the like anger, and then it breaks down
Right.
all the different types of anger. And so I'd have to look at this emotional wheel and like actually pick out the things
Yeah.
that resonated with me, because I couldn't identify how I was actually feeling by myself.
Right.
It's not a skill that I developed. So
Wow.
I'm thankful that I did engage in a mental health recovery, because
Mm.
I quiver to think where I would be and what I would be doing right now had I not started that process.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then the desire to not feel it. So that's where when like I could probably get it, and it tells you like where you might feel the emotions in your body. So they would
Mm.
have me do a body scan and like joy you feel all over, you know, embarrassment. Like, so then you can be like, oh, I feel tight in my gut, or, you know, and then you can kind of find what emotion you might be feeling. That's, you know, but that's important because I spend a lot of time disconnected from how I physically
Mhm.
feel, you
Yeah.
know, and then that is one reason why I drank, because I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's what, like, well, I am a Pisces, so there's that, but I loved feeling intoxicated. Because it was something. I was feeling something. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
and on the other end of the spectrum, if I did actually start to feel, it would be so overwhelming, which is why I was feeling it. And so then I drank to numb it out. So it was like I hear some people say I drank to numb, but I drank to numb and to feel. I was just always drinking
Right.
or using.
Because you thought it felt good, or because it feels good, maybe, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, and
So,
then 3 hours later I'm bawling, you know, like, and not able to explain to people why or what's going on.
right.
Wow, a Rolling Stone. I'm so sorry. There was love in my home, but conditioned upon accepting being physically assaulted on a regular basis by adults who would be in jail if it happened now. Statute of limitations on child abuse. Yeah, there was some things that were going on with me as a young child that yeah, I would have been removed from the home if it were now.
I don't even know how either of my parents had custody
Right?
children. I shouldn't say that. But yeah, and then sadly, I don't think that they would be in jail now. And like, this is something I deal with immensely, is the injustice. Like, feeling like nobody ever had to pay for what they did,
Right.
and or even acknowledge what they
And they
did, you
didn't.
know, like,
Yeah,
no,
and they
no.
didn't.
They probably went off and did it to who knows how many other young children and people.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mm.
they never even had to acknowledge what scumbags they were. In fact, they felt like they were the victims. And then, like,
Yeah.
letting that go. So I, for a long time, I had this sense of like I had to have justice, you know, and I was like constantly, like, I was angry all the time because I felt like people needed to be punished,
Yeah.
you know, or they had to, like, the truth had to come out. And so
Yeah.
there was a lot of me that had to let that go, you know,
Mm.
Yeah.
because it was like taking poison, hoping they were going to die.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How long did that process take you?
Oh, I still ebb and flow through it. Like, I don't think it's linear.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Carol knows me. How long do you think that process took me from being angry? Well, I mean, I kind of took them to court because they were trying to, like, they were disrespecting my grandmother's trust. And so I went to court defending that. And then, even though I was in the right and my grandmother was in the right, like, they still had their way. But I do feel good because I feel like I did everything that I could do. And then that helped me to let it go, you know? So, but I am still letting it go all the time. And in
Mhm.
situations
Yeah.
in my life where, you know, I was unfairly denied a job, and I, you know, wanted to, like, champion that. I think somebody said, write it all down, all the cuss words. I do a lot of journaling, and I should probably burn those things because I don't want my my kids to have to read all of that. Like, speaking of going through, like, with all the death that we've gone through, like, we have so many, like, dead people stuff right now, like dead dad stuff. It's overwhelming. So kind of, it's, I guess it's like going through that. Occasionally, like, I'll get it back out and I'll go through it, and then I'll be able to throw things that are obviously need to be thrown away, like my dad's old house shoes that nobody's gonna wear. Why did I pack them and take them home anyway, you know? But so it's clinging to that stuff, but I still fight feeling angry, for sure,
When
Mhm.
did
and
Mima
accepting
die?
that.
The
9 years
acceptance.
ago,
Yeah.
right?
So
She
yeah,
died going on 10 years ago.
so I mean it basically all of it started changing as soon as she passed.
And I started drinking like bad because for the last 10 years of her life, like, I was a, that gave me purpose. You know, I
Yeah.
feel like, you know, like, maybe acts of service is my love language, but also it was just a coping mechanism for how I found worth in my family. was just taking care of others. So then I was just a caretaker, like Carol said, for my nieces and nephews, for my sisters, for my grandmother, for everybody, for my dad, for my husband. You know, I was just like taking care of people. So then, like when that was stripped away from me, I really didn't know who I was. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
You were pretty lost there for
oh, I was a mess for
for a
probably
time.
easily
Yeah.
like 3 to 4 years, just a complete
Yeah.
like shit show.
Mm.
And it took me a lot to climb out. Like I do look back and I almost wish I could meet me then, because I couldn't even breathe, you know. I mean, that's how dysregulated I
Yeah.
was, and like so
Yeah.
confused, and like just so abandoned, you know, feeling. And
Yeah. Yeah. That
If
was rough.
if you could meet yourself at that time of your life, what would you say?
I would just give me a hug, you know, for one thing, and I would sit with it. And you know, because there's not like, I don't think that anybody could really say anything. Like everybody kept trying to tell me, you have no control over them, you have no control over them, but I just couldn't logically see how I could let them go. You know, like maybe I couldn't make them change, but I still couldn't like see my way a life without them, you know,
Right.
without my sisters or my mom, and I just couldn't accept what was happening, you know. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think that anybody could have made me see or accept it at that time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would just want to hug me, because I was just so like, I don't know. I mean, I guess in a way suicidal, like I just really felt like I didn't have any worth or belonging. And you
Yeah.
know, I mean, which is terrible because I had 4 kids and a husband, and I'm not trying to say that, but it's just, it was really earth shattering for me,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And you survived it and you're thriving. And I'm
right.
so
And then when
happy
I,
to see it.
well, thank you. Like quitting
Hmm.
the drinking was like huge. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm like so codependent. And I was so hard on myself for that. I was like, that's even
Mm.
grosser than being an alcoholic. Like, that is so horrible. But it's, you know, it's really not that bad. It's just having to recognize that I am seeking my self worth outside of myself. You know,
Mm.
Yeah.
like I'm asking other people, am I worthy of like
Yep.
existence? Am I okay? And so that's part of me, like working for everybody, is to be like, do I have validation? Do I belong now? You know, because I have this feeling, this sense, there's always that in my head that you don't belong, you know, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you know.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that started amazing me about codependencies, constantly needing that validation from others and how fleeting it is. I mean, you could
Yeah.
literally, well, not you, but me, I could literally go up to somebody and, get validation. Oh, tell me I'm, of course you don't say it
Right.
this way. You're
Right.
paraphrasing what you really mean, but I'd go up and I need validation. They would say, okay, no, Ben, you're fine, you're fine. You're perfectly valued. And then like within 5 minutes, it's like then my brain would switch to, yeah, but what have you said to me lately? It's
Oh,
just
right.
amazing the
Right.
how destructive that really can get.
You're
Yeah.
right.
Um,
And then it's just this cycle
yeah,
where you're almost, you know, because you can't believe it when somebody else is telling you. So
yeah,
you work so hard and then you're mad because you're like, all that I do for you. And you can't even like tell me that I'm worthy. You can't even like help me feel like I belong, but it's because it's not their job. You know,
yeah.
that's internal work that nobody else can do for you, and no
That's
amount of like
true.
working yourself to the bone. And I see that with my son and his work relationship. Like he doesn't
Mm,
know how to have boundaries, so he'll get called in, he'll get overworked, and then he'll feel unappreciated. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's because you need to set those boundaries. You have to have that respect
yeah,
for yourself.
Yeah.
And they don't even respect you so much when you're willing to lay down in the mud for them to walk on you, you know,
That's
your family
true.
or
Mhm.
whatever.
That is how I feel. I feel like I laid down in the mud and allowed this person to walk all over me, and then they kicked me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
As they walked away. Hmm.
Right. But,
Yeah.
you know, and then I can see now how, like, as much as I was flinging myself around, like trying to be everything for them. And then all they'd yell at me is, oh, you get to be the savior yet again. Like my sister, yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want to do. Yeah. Clean up your mess, you know? So.
A Rolling Stone, my oldest sister gets mad if I bring up the abuse. She claims everybody raised their kids that way. I told her whatever shrink told her that should lose their license. It wasn't true then, never was. Right on. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that it make it right. Like even
doesn't
if that's
make it
true,
right. Right on.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get past it. Some days are much better than others. I almost bailed early in this show, but I know I have to deal with the anger. I'm 58. FFS. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
scared of my anger too. Probably that's one of the hardest emotions for me to feel because my mom was so rageful. And then my dad, being an alcoholic, was, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys watch Survivor. This is totally irrelevant, but this girl, Liz, like had a breakdown. Like she was gutturally screaming because she didn't get picked for a reward. Like, ah! And Molly was like, oh my God, that sounds just like your mom. And it just sent shivers down me because she's right. Like we've all heard my mom do that exorcist, like head spinning around, like scream, you know. Even Molly, who's pretty much doesn't know her. She was 5 when I went no contact, but she still remembers it because it's that scary, you know?
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Oh, I'm glad you stayed a Rolling Stone, Krista Melinda, and I agree. I'm glad you did too.
Yeah, it's nice to know that other people have experienced similar things, and you know, it's a nice reminder that we can get through it. Like I know I can get through it. I've been through other things before, managed to make it to 3 years without having the crutch of self-medication, and like I'm not worried about my sobriety at this time, but like my emotional sobriety, you know, that whole thing is important to me. And like now that I'm really focused on my mental health recovery and kind of giving that homage and recognizing that it's a thing, it's helpful to have a space like this where I can come and talk about it. And it reminds me of the forgiveness conversation that we had here a little while ago. And like, I know that I agree with what you said, Sarah, because I said the same thing about forgiveness being a process, and it's not something that's linear, and it's something that comes up from time to time. Even when we think we've let something go, we might get triggered. And I just I wish it wasn't that way, but it is that way, and we all go through it. And it's nice to know that I'm not alone, is what I'm trying to say.
Right on.
Right. Yeah, it's such a process. And then I get so frustrated with the process because I'm like, when am I, like, I want the graduation. You know,
I just want to be there. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have to be like, okay, this is life. It's the journey, you know, embrace it. And I hate all of those things I'm telling myself. I'm like, you know? I don't want to embrace this journey.
Makes me want to gag, right?
I don't want to walk on this crappy path with rocks. I keep stubbing my toe.
Right.
Like, I'm over it, you know?
Right.
Hey, Kenneth says, it's okay, about 20 years since my attempt. I'm so glad that it was not successful. Getting better can be done. Nothing's perfect, but it can get better. Yes.
Right.
Yes, it can.
And
as long
we
as we're
don't have
not
to be
giving up.
perfect.
No,
none of us
we
have
don't.
to be perfect. Right.
Rebecca says, I relate to the imposter syndrome, never feeling good enough, not believing the good I am told, feeling unworthy and worthless. How have you all worked through those types of feelings? That's part 1. She says, I have struggled with these in my entire life, and every time I feel like I'm fine, it comes back showing me that work isn't done. It's frustrating that this is still going on.
I'm still right there in the thick of it. Like, I bought this flower shop. I, took an opportunity, and I am good at flowers, but and so Part of it, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I feel like such a fake most of the time in my life, and like I'm not good enough and I'm bad, and like, and then asking my husband, I'm like, were the flowers good? Were they good enough? Like, oh, you know, and he's like, oh my God, you have to stop it. Like, I mean, and I'm like, I get it. I'm annoying to myself too. So I don't know. But I just have to keep like saying again, reminding myself, hey, I was taught wrong. Like I was taught I didn't have value
Yeah.
as an infant. My whole life, I was taught that the color green was black. And so I have to be like,
Yeah.
okay, these aren't like, this isn't really the way you feel about yourself. You are good.
Yeah.
You're good
Yeah.
enough. You're doing a
Yeah.
great job. You know, like,
Yeah.
why do I hold myself to unrealistic standards? And
Mm-hmm.
why am I so willing to see all the bad in me and no good? You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
I'm so willing.
and that's one thing. And when it comes to limiting beliefs like that, like I'm no good, I'm insert
Right.
whatever. The what seems to help in overcoming them is awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness that they're there, keeping
Yeah.
in mind that they're there.
Yeah.
Even mocking them helps.
You know
Right.
what?
Constantly.
So true. One time, I'll tell you where it started for me, Rebecca, is just running around being apologetic for the air the oxygen I was
Right.
taking up.
Mhm.
I just kind of stopped one day and you know what? F this. I'm breathing air. I'm taking up oxygen. Deal with it.
Right. Well, it's weird. Like I have existence shame where I feel like I've been apologizing for the fact that I was
For
born,
same,
you know.
same,
And
same. Yeah,
so
Yeah, that one too.
that is hard to come
it
over.
is. It
And then
is.
like I've done some intense therapy where, you know, I was supposed to go back and love that baby, you know, and so it was like a 5-day program where I was like down. It was like an immersion therapy, and I was the only one that had a baby, you know. And then there's 6-year-old us, and there's 15-year-old me. Like probably 15-year-old me is really in the driver's seat more than anybody else, but that's okay. She's very confident. She thinks she's like knows it all. So that's who I want driving. But you know, so I left that, and I'm like loading all of us up. I'm like putting the baby in the back, like got the 6-year-old, this is 15-year-old. I'm like, okay, come on, everybody. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the internal family structures. That's sort of a loose model of what I'm talking about, where you have these different protector sides, and you know, they all need
Okay.
nurturing and understanding. So yeah, and then the weird thing was when I left that, I immediately got pulled over by the cops, like on my way home, and I was like 4 hours away. And I immediately reverted back to a small child. Like I've got like, you know, pounds of cocaine in the back, and I'm gonna get it arrested. And I'm like, I'm going, it's like, it's okay, Sarah, you're an adult. You've got this. It's okay. You know, you haven't done anything wrong. There's like no drugs in the car. You're not drunk. You know, I got pulled over. I hardly ever get pulled over, like 3 times within 2 weeks from leaving that. I was like, oh, great. I get to practice this again. It's okay. You've got this. I'm doing anything wrong.
I
Rebecca,
think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Rebecca, it's peeling the onion. Seems there's always another layer of pain shed. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger, and we're still here. Love that. Go ahead.
In terms of not feeling good enough, not believing the good I'm told, the unworthiness and feeling unworthy. In terms of those things, I can relate to those. And for a long time, I felt that way about myself. I think once I got to the point where I was like, I'm not perfect, and that's okay. Life felt a little bit easier, but it was a process to get there too. And then it was like, all right, I wanted so much for everyone to like me,
Right.
and that's just not realistic. It's like, all right, not everybody likes me, and that's okay. And I still struggle with feelings like that, feeling like this person is acting like they like me, but really they're talking about me in the bathroom with their girlfriends. And that may or may not be the case, but if it is the case, it's fine. You know,
Right.
like I'm not going to stop my life and doing what I feel guided to do because people want to talk about me. And the truth is that if they are talking about me, at least they're talking about me. You know, like
Right.
if people are talking poorly about me, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
What people say about me is none of my business.
Yeah, what people think about me is none of my business.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Well, and the
Mhm.
helpful thing there is when people show you who they really are, believe them.
Mhm.
Because there's other people that, like, that's something I had to come to terms with. Like, I believe that we get what we give. And so, like, and I had to accept that the love that I give, it doesn't always come back from the same people. Like, I can love somebody so
Mm,
much and love them, and they can be unable to love me back. But it doesn't mean that it's not going to come back from friends or strangers or somewhere else. Like,
Mhm.
I will get the love that I give, I'll get it back. But that's where I would be like so frustrated. I'd be like, I love them so much. Like, why can't they love me?
it's a good point. It's a good point. The people who we want to love us aren't always going to reciprocate that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where my therapist was that's what she was getting at when she said, and because I think it goes for friendships too,
Right.
and
Yeah.
not just romantic partnerships, where she said, if it feels familiar, if it feels comfortable, run. And
Right.
I'm going to be honest, like this meeting and the lifeboat and like all the people that I've been meeting in the past few months from this community, I feel uncomfortable with it sometimes because it's like I've evolved in my mental health recovery to want to be around healthy people, or at least people who are putting their mental health first, or like it's a really high priority for them. And it is uncomfortable. And I've expressed this before, that I feel sometimes like scared to keep engaging because I have been burned before. Like, I think I told y'all when I got kicked out of that Bible study,
I remember that.
because they said my heart wasn't right. And if I decided to start seeking Jesus Christ with a genuine heart, that I would be allowed back in. And I was like, all right, I'm not interested in getting back in the Bible study at this point. But I think prior to my mental health recovery, it was crushing. I'm not going to
Right.
pretend like it felt like abandonment. These were like people who I really thought were my friends. And
Yeah.
it was like a different online recovery community that I was immersed in for a period of time. When that happened, I had to move on. And that's actually what led me here to this beautiful group of people. So I think, it's a process, and realizing that I deserve better, and I don't have to pretend to be somebody that I'm not. At this point, I'm unapologetically me, unless I actually do hurt someone, which is never intentional. And I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of who I've become. Like,
Right on.
proud of that. And I
Yeah.
think that helps not feeling the feelings of unworthiness or
Yeah.
imposter syndrome, knowing that I'm following my heart. And it's led me to this group of awesome people.
That's great.
Well,
Yeah, it is great. The redirection is great.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, sometimes it's hard to see the blessing, but I really feel like for me, life is about getting out of my own way. Like, so much I am in my own way with my limiting beliefs, or, what I believe about myself, that, like, being redirected is where that's coming from. But I don't even know. I want to be authentic. That's what I want to be more than anything else. But
Right
then,
on.
like, I'm afraid because I've been denied a position because I disagreed with somebody. Remember, I was hired as an elementary art teacher shortly after my grandmother died, which was like my dream job. That's what I wanted to do. That's aligned with what my degree is. In the community that I grew up, I would still be working that until the day I died, probably. And I'd be a great art teacher. I know that about myself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one man on the school board prevented me from having the job because I disagreed with him 10 years earlier in, like, Pee Wee baseball. Like, I had no idea that I had injured this. Like, I thought he still liked me. He'd see me in the grocery store, be like, hey, how are the kids? And so that was really hard. I
Yeah.
definitely, and so I don't know. Anyways, I was getting to say, I don't even know who I am. Like, that's how bad I am. Like, I just feel like I'm still trying to get to know myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? In terms, I relate to that because it's like I was raised in a very religious family, very religious, and like there was one way to believe, and that was believing that I'll just say, I don't want to trigger anybody here. It was believing one certain thing. Right.
Right.
And, it's hard for me to even admit that I don't know that I necessarily believe what I was taught to believe, but I'm curious. Like, I still wanted to read the Bible for myself as an adult so that I could make my own decision. And I'm so thankful because I told y'all about that book study. We're reading the big book right now, but we're talking about maybe reading the Bible. And I'm like, just so y'all know, I got kicked out of the last Bible study I was in, just as a just so you know. And they laugh. They think it's funny. And it's nice now I've fallen into this group of people who don't expect me to have the same beliefs, and they actually value differences of opinion and adult, rich conversation and having our own perspective on things and sharing that. And so I think had I folded and been like, I'm so sorry, my heart is pure, I'll do exactly what you're asking me to do. Had I done that, I wouldn't be in this group of people who accepts me for who I am.
Right on.
So I'm glad that I walked away from that group.
Right.
I am
too.
too.
And the echo chamber is so toxic and dangerous.
That's true.
That's where
That's true.
much abuse happens, is when you don't allow different opinions, where you don't allow somebody to be like, are you sure you want to do that? That doesn't seem to be aligned with my interpretation of, you should be allowed to question things. And anytime you're not, huge red flag.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. 100%. So I'm thankful I got kicked out of that Bible study.
Right.
At the time, it hurt though. It was
devastating.
They threw you out and left a road rash.
It was devastating. Truly. Yeah. I cried. Yeah. I cried for weeks. It was really hard.
Yeah.
That would be painful. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because that your spiritual life is that's such a deeply personal thing. And for someone to just attack it and smash it like that.
And it was the same thing as what I was describing before. Interesting that the theme was similar, that they were making it my fault. It was my fault that they were behaving badly. And my therapist, she's a Christian therapist. I had no idea until all this happened, but her PhD is in Christian therapy, or some variation. I don't know the technical term. I can't remember, but it's Christian. She's a Christian therapist, and she said their behavior was absolutely unacceptable.
Right on. Yeah, it was.
Not aligned with what they believe,
right?
Or what they profess to believe. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where it becomes where are we even going with this?
Yeah. I have some starred comments I wanted to read. I wrote last night, this is a Rolling Stone, today was a hard day. Thank God for the lifeboat crew, my fellow survivors, my comrades in arms, my crewmates, beaters of the odds. Love
that's beautiful.
that. Love that. Kenneth, exactly. Perfection isn't a reasonable goal. Just being okay is great. Yes.
Perfectly imperfect. We're perfectly imperfect.
That's right.
Yes. Rebecca, maybe the onion analogy is good because it feels like I have done so much work, but still dealing with this. I definitely still feel the need for people to like me. I wish I didn't feel that way. I don't know that it's possible to be human and not feel that way.
Because we need community to survive. And
that's
so
right.
That's why
it's a really deep evolutionary thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Is there a person on the face of the planet that everybody likes though?
Right. Well, that's the thing. Everybody is everybody's cup of tea. Nobody likes the same drink, so why do we want, and then we're not being authentic with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what everybody is drawn to the most is authenticity. At least that's what I feel. Maybe I feel like it's foreign at first or uncomfortable, but I love it. Like
Yeah.
this really special woman has come into my life, and pretty much like, I don't know if I adopted her. I think I did. I was like, I know I'm a 45-year-old woman, but you're my mother now. And she's like, okay. And she's kind of pulled my kids in. So, you know, if you hold space for that, like those people can come in. Where if I was still busy loving somebody who was unable to love me, then I wouldn't have room for Robin, who's been like such a blessing for me, you know, and for other people to come in and help guide me and, you know, love me for all of the mess that I am. I feel like, hey, you're great, you know. Like,
well, yeah, and it does appear that people are now starting to seek authentic people. You have the fact like Joe Rogan gets more viewers than network news. Almost all of them combined, he gets more people because
right.
network news is just, you know, it's phony people, you know, dressed up in plastic suits and hi Bob, how you doing? Ha ha ha, I am good. Ha ha ha. You know, and it's like, it's just so phony and so saccharine sweet that I
It's
think
the
that's
echo
what,
chamber. It's
yeah.
the epitome of the echo chamber,
Mm-hmm.
where they're not allowing ideas that they disagree with. Oh, sorry, my dogs are having a fit.
You know, and it's also what's very toxic about very unsocial about social media is people putting up false fronts. My life is perfect. Oh yeah,
Right.
they don't ever tell you anything, any of their struggles, or you know, and that's the norm. If you admit that you have struggles, then you get like pounced on like a pack of piranhas. Although I don't see piranhas pounce, but
yeah, I pounce on those people because I'm like, be my friend. I'm just you have struggles, me too.
But yeah, and that's because a lot of times we're trying to compare ourselves to a false image of people, and that's not good.
Yeah, trying to live up to a false image that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good point. So many of the people I need to love me don't and can't in the way I need that is healthy. Yeah, Rebecca. I love this comment from Zelda. Tara, we don't care what you believe in as long as you're a good person, and you are.
Well, thanks, Zelda. I appreciate that. And that's great news because I'm not exactly sure what I believe in at this point.
And that's okay.
And Rebecca says, wow, great point about getting in our own way. I have done this so much in my life. I need to remind myself to give myself the love I deserve and surround myself with the people who treat me well. Yeah, absolutely, Rebecca.
Actually, I was just talking to you, Carol, the other day about like getting out of my own way and being open to medication, because when you've struggled with substance abuse, like I don't want any medicine, you know, I don't trust doctors, I don't trust medicine, but like I do have CPTSD, I do have like severe ADHD, and I was struggling to function in my life. And so I was like, I have to consider, hey, if medicine will like help like reset something, and you know, and then I can function better, then I need to do that for myself and my family, without so much judgment, without being like, that is wrong, you were bad, if you can't do it yourself, you know, then
you know, menopause forced me to let go of that judgment.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and getting out of my
menopause
own way,
kind of forced me out of that corner of judgment, you know. So don't let menopause slap you upside the head with it.
I'm afraid the whole thing is, but I had to reframe what I was thinking. I was like, okay, if you had like a broken leg, or I was saying my mom, if you're missing a leg, are you not going to use the wheelchair because you're afraid of being like your mother, you know? Are you going to like not help yourself because you're so in your own way with what you think is right or wrong, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the journey I'm on right now, like trying to decide if I need, like, if medication will help.
You know, I'm hoping it's going to help. I have to wait about 6 weeks to see if this newest medication for the ADHD is going to help. But, you know, I'm just going to be patient and hope
Treat
that it
ourselves like
will.
science experiments. I'm very
That's
like,
right.
I love science.
You know,
so like journal.
It it took a year for me. I was resistant, like what you were saying about being resistant and not trusting the medical system, the medication, all of that. I went through that as well. And I stayed without medication for the first 2 years of my substance misuse recovery. And I wanted to kill myself. That's not a joke. I was either going to relapse or hurt myself after 2 years. And I started mental health medication, and it took an entire year of trying wrong things and things that my body didn't process well, or like we had to figure out that SSRIs don't work for me. SNRIs don't work for me. I have treatment resistant depression. Oh, I also have ADHD. Like that's a new one that I just found out about 6 months ago. And so it was a process for me to try a bunch of things that didn't actually work for me to get to where I'm at now, and it is working for me. Like I think if I was going through what I'm going through, I wouldn't be able to handle everything that I'm going through right now a year ago without being under the right chemical cocktail, if you will, or like having the right chemicals in my brain. But I am handling it. I haven't cried today. I'm probably not going to cry over this. I've already cried over it. And I think I'm coping in a healthy way. And I'm really, really proud of myself for giving myself the opportunity to feel what that feels like. But it was a process. That's the point I was trying to make, is that it wasn't immediate. It was like, it took a year and several failed treatments to get to the right one.
And then that's where I'm like, am I, a guinea pig? Like, and so, I mean, I can so relate to everything that you said, because I'm like, nothing is going to work. There's not a pill that's going to fix me. And then I argue about my ADHD. I'm like, maybe it's not ADHD. Like CPTSD symptoms of disassociation and all this stuff are like the same as ADHD, And I would love a pill to fix me. Like, I would be like,
it's not perfect, but it helps. It's not perfect, but it does help. And I'll take it. I'll take the help.
I have to remind myself I'm not broken, like in me saying that, like I want somebody, there is so much of me that just doesn't want to be me. And like, that's hard to admit because it's so uncomfortable.
Sure.
Like, and so I just have to be like, that's okay. It's okay to be you. It's okay to have continual issues, and it's okay to experiment with things that might help you,
And it might not, might not, but at least like it had nothing worked for me at all. Like at least I would have known that it wasn't, instead of wondering. And it actually has improved, even though I have treatment-resistant depression, also CPTSD, also ADHD. Yeah, all of those things. Like I feel like, are we like soul sisters or something? Because I have like a lot of the same psychology, anyways. And my treatment has made a huge difference. So I'm so glad that I took the risk.
Oh, I'm so glad too. And we need to be open to that. So I'm just like getting to that point where I'm like, all right, let's risk it for the biscuit. Like, let's see what we got.
A Rolling Stone says, Sarah, I several years ago ran into a woman who tried to start a fight with me over an argument we'd had at a keg party 30 years before. I didn't even recognize her. People are just weird.
They are. They are. Well, and this weird guy, like I was like Googling him because I was like, he's saying I'm a troublemaker. And so then I Googled him, and he lost his job because he had 4 adverse actions taken against people's First Amendment rights. Like he demoted them. He was the head of the road department. So like he ended up having to resign, but he had huge fights with them and was telling them who to vote for. And then he demoted them.
I guess he was projecting then by calling you a troublemaker.
Right.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, well, that's what most of it is. And then we have to remember that we're projecting too. That's another thing. I try to tell my daughter that too. I'm like, a lot of times, they're projecting how they really feel about themselves when they're calling you a troublemaker or whatever. And you're like, am I?
Yeah. I like what Kenneth is saying here. I think it's good to be your true self without being necessarily harsh or rude, unless you absolutely have to be. If other people don't like it, there are many other people who will.
That's right.
Yeah. Everyone
at
should
least
be able to
you'll
interpret
like
their belief the
yourself.
way they want.
That's right. Mhm.
Yeah.
Because when you contort yourself to be palatable for someone else, then if they
Woo.
show you love, you don't feel real love from it because you know it wasn't really who you are or aligned with who you are. So that's the whole thing. Like,
At the risk of getting religious, I don't think Jesus was kicking anyone out of Bible study for having questions. Yeah.
definitely
Just
not.
my 1.5 cents. Yeah.
I love that.
I love that too.
Kristen Melinda, the voice of reason.
Yeah.
I think I told you I got kicked out of every religious class for asking questions. I don't like asking, and I like questions.
Yeah. Red flag. If somebody doesn't like questions, which I love asking questions, a huge red flag.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, see,
that is a good sign.
Yeah, and that's something that's true of everything. If they only ask you questions, and that's something that's actually a good indication of someone that this is something that I noticed. Now I'm thinking back on it in my previous relationship, is that he didn't really he didn't answer any of my questions. He always answered my questions with a question of his own about me. So he's trying to find out information about me rather than give me information about himself so that he could fit whatever information he wanted into whatever it was I was saying. But and that kind of fits. Yeah, but it kind of goes with a lot of things like this. You just got to take into account if they're not asking you questions or not letting you ask. They're not letting you ask questions. You probably don't really want anything to do with them. So, and that's like an employer. If the employer won't let you ask questions about the way practices are going, I don't think that's good either. So it's just, I think questions are important. It's like me, I was going around asking you millions of questions after question after question after question. And I got to the point where I just turned around and says, why do you have to ask so many questions? And then I said, no. And then I pulled myself back and said, no, it's fine though, because you're a kid. You're supposed to ask questions. But yeah, it was just nonstop. But it's good. I think it's good to encourage kids to ask questions and have the ability to have the
absolutely
the right to question things.
How are you going to learn if you don't ask questions? If you're not allowed to question?
Yeah, I'm not sure if anyone remembers it, but there was that parent who had his little girl, and he tried to he gave her a can opener and got her to open a can of beans. She took all day to do it because he wouldn't tell her how. And, he wrote out this big Twitter thing saying Facebook, I don't know, it was years ago, about how proud he was that his girl figured it out. But she didn't eat all day because she couldn't open the tin cans. And I was thinking, that's not what you're supposed to do. You show children and you guide them. You don't just give them something and tell them how to do it or not even tell them how to do it. I think that's kind of cruel. That's cruelty.
Very much so.
So,
yeah.
I'm
sorry for interrupted the conversation.
My thoughts are getting all jumbled up now. I'm happy that those people kicked me out of Bible study for many reasons. But as I'm sitting here, like, kind of letting everything work through me, I'm like, thankful that it happened in the book of Genesis, because at least we didn't get through like half of the Bible or something. And I was spending my Friday nights with these people studying. And so I'm glad it happened pretty quickly after just like three sessions, because
you only got through all the begats and the begots.
Yeah, and I didn't waste my time. It's nice to know I wasn't wasting my time.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Zelda says, Sarah, I hope you seek a little help because you're almost there, girl.
Oh, I'm like seeking all the help. That's where I'm like, okay.
That's what I was going to say. The imposter syndrome. Like I feel sometimes, because I have all these like I see PTSD and all the letters like Pokemon, got to catch them all. But because it's taken so long to get diagnosed as autistic and ADHD, it feels like it's fake. I don't feel like it. Sometimes I feel like I'm faking being autistic or ADHD, because now I know about it. I can see the things that make me that, but it's just now I'm aware more of it more than anything. So it's like it's not like it's changed who I am. I've always been the same, but it's made me more aware of why I am the way I am. And that's like, it's messing with my mind a little, because I'm like, well, how did I get up to this point and, be relatively okay, and then, not be okay now, after finding out about it. But then I've got to take into account all the extenuating circumstances and stuff. And it's just,
That's right.
but I feel fake. I feel like I'm faking life. Like, I feel like I'm still this kid who's just pretending to be an adult. Like, 3 little kids in a big jacket. Well, 1.5 kids because I'm short. But it's
Well,
it's
I
like
mean,
don't feel like
even
I'm
if
doing
you
that
are,
right.
what's wrong with that?
I can relate to a
it's
lot
just-
of what you're saying. Like, I have to wonder, like, what is the mask and what is me? Like, because I've been masking so much my entire life, and didn't feel like I was good enough. And so performing and stuff. So then I'm like, well, do I have a personality? Like, how much of it is me masking, trying to get along with society or fit in? And then how much is me,
Well, that's true. Like, that's exactly right, because I do know we tend to take on the personalities of those around us because we're trying to fit in, and it's like, you're exactly right. How much of this is me, and how much of it is all little bits and pieces of everybody else. So
Well, we can't help but have people rub off on us. It's in our DNA,
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I know that there are people that have helped shape the person that I am today. And it is what it is. For the better or the worse,
yeah.
Nobody heard
Well, I guess-
that rock song, right?
No.
Which one?
Good. Nothing happened here. It's all fine.
You are so full of it sometimes, Ben Turner.
It's all good. Yeah, I accidentally hit something and the song started playing. I was trying to figure out how to shut it off.
Could not hear it. Could not hear it.
Nothing happened.
You pulled a Spanx Calhoun.
Cool.
Did you see this one from A. Kenneth, Tara? Part of your self-treatment is, I bet, offloading things that anger or upset you with people who you are comfortable talking to. We're here.
I did see that, and that's a very thoughtful comment, which I really appreciate.
And Rebecca says, I love asking questions too. Define definite red flag if people don't like it, like that, or deflect those questions. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why it took me all these years to figure that out. It was just like, I would just be like, like I put my hand on a flame and I step back, but I would stay like it was my fault, instead of realizing that it doesn't have anything to do with me.
That's right.
Well, speaking up for Tara didn't know because Tara wasn't around these people that long. So you give benefits, you gave these people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
It's true.
You did.
And I also ignored quite a few red flags, if I'm being totally honest about it.
Well, red flags are like an invitation when you come from crazy. You're like, I can see them. They're clearly red flags. It's marked red flags. I'm still going to date them for 6 months.
Right.
My friend Mel says I turn red flags into green flags. I'm like, no, purple, because I like purple, red and blue.
It's a scarf. I just wear them.
I have a meme I can send you about that. But yeah, it's just, but I don't know. I was actually talking about this. Is that I have to ask and be told sometimes because of the interpersonal social cues sometimes I don't pick up on. So I sometimes can't tell if someone's being mean to me just because I think they're joking around and stuff. But no, they're actually kind of being rude and mean. And it takes someone else saying, that person wasn't very nice to you, for me to actually see it. And I'm like, really? And I think actually I prefer walking through life not knowing if people like me or not, or people are being mean, because it's just like, I don't care.
I'm so like that.
Yeah.
My son, when he was 12, told me she doesn't like you. Like my cousin that I wanted to believe was my friend. And I was like, no, she does. And Rex, they were like, no, Mom, she's not your friend. And then I still thought she was. And after my dad died, she did some really horrendous things. And that's when I had to go no contact with her. But my cousins who, like, I butt dialed her. It's one of the only times I ever butt dialed somebody. It was like I was just got to my dad's house after he died, and I was laying in the spot where he died, where that's something I do. But anyway, so I butt dialed her, left a 1 minute, 11-second message, and she sent it around to my cousins who were helping me because I had to fly to New Mexico by myself to deal with my dad's death. Anyways, they would lovingly pull me inside and be like, she's not your friend. Like, they didn't tell me that she was doing this, but they were like trying to tell me too, because I couldn't pick up on social cues and my need to believe that people do like me. So, and I'm very literal, so I have to ask a lot of questions too, because I will just believe you. Just be like,
yes,
okay.
I am super literal, and sometimes it comes across in conversation where someone will say something and I'll take them at what they say.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then it's just actually my asking questions was one of the things that helped diagnose me as autistic and
Okay. Right on.
Even the way that, because I did the test, it was on the computer and all that sort of stuff, and I asked a million questions before the test, during the test, and after the test about how to do the test, and if I'm answering the questions, if this is how I answer the questions, and if I have to do it within a certain amount of time. It's just all these random questions that I was asking. And she goes, and then, after the, I also sent her emails days and days beforehand because I was nervous. Because she sent me the child version, and I didn't understand why I got the child version. And there's actually no standard testing available for women, for adults especially. There's no standard testing, and that was really confusing for me. I'm like, well, one, it doesn't make sense to me why they've been autistic adults around for years. Why don't they have standardized testing for this? And then anyway, she ended the appointment. She goes, all the questions that you asked leading up to this and during the test actually was one of the indicators for you being the level of autistic that you are. And I'm like, okay, right. And sometimes people get annoyed with questions because I ask so much, because they don't clarify they don't use enough words in their answer to clarify what I asked. So I'll just ask again until I get my answer, and people find that quite annoying.
Did anybody see like that test if you have autism where they're like, what do 2 and 7 have in common?
No.
What do 2 and 7 have in common?
They both have one has a flat top and one has a flat bottom.
They're both,
what were you going to say?
I was going to say they're both single-digit numbers. They're both...
I was going to say they both start off like this.
They're
Right.
both derivatives of... Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you turn a 2 upside down.
Okay, Ben,
7.
you're right. The answer is they're both numbers. Like a neurodivergent person that says they're both numbers. I immediately went to like the shape. I was like, well, they both kind of do this. They're both going this. And then what did Finn said, like 14, somebody said 27. The only person who said they're both numbers was Shane in my family. I was like, I think we're all neurodivergent.
Well, even when I was learning how to read, I didn't.
Yeah, I just took it for granted that they were numbers. Like, if you're asking the question, we're assuming that they're both numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the question is, what do the numbers?
Right. So I was reading too much into the question, but anyway.
Yeah. But by and large, we tend to think people are like us. If we like them, we will, by default, unfortunately, this is the way most people are wired, we will unfortunately think they like us. If we like them, they must like us. And it's
not that way.
Not necessarily a wise default.
That's
Well,
true.
we turn into people pleasers to try and get them to like us.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
True.
a bad move. That's the biggest lesson I learned from all of the, everything from the past year. I think the most valuable lesson that I've learned is that if someone, or especially if more than one person in a group of people tells you that they don't feel empathy, run. Run from that. If they literally tell you that they don't have the ability to experience empathy, that is a huge red flag.
Yeah, that's going to be a high maintenance.
Do people really ever come out and admit that, though?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Well, I won't go too much more into detail, but yes, they did. And I didn't believe them. I didn't
Right.
believe them.
Wow.
They were
Or
open.
you-
And
trying to
Well,
convince
Chris's
people
method,
to love you. That's a good one. Whoever said that, like trying to like seeing it as a quest. Oh, I can get
Yep.
this person to love me. Like as another sort of like that's another codependence thing.
Right,
Like,
totally.
oh,
I can fix them with my love. I just have to
Yeah,
give them
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
or if I can get them to love
my.
me, then I'll love myself.
Right.
That's
I'm gonna give them the best support that they've ever had, and it's gonna help. It's like, no.
You guys,
Love me
just real
back.
quick, I'm gonna go check on Steve real quick.
Mm.
I'm gonna see if he's off the floor.
Mm.
I'll be right back.
There is a really good. It's an episode of Friends. It's a really short bit, but I absolutely love the imagery or the way it's conveyed. I think it's Phoebe is dating this guy. He's a psychotherapist, and all the whole gang, they keep asking them, "Oh, well, what about me? What do you think about?" And there's finally one scene near the end of the episode because everybody's saying, "I hate that guy," and there's finally a scene at the end where he's talking to Phoebe and he's talking about her friends, like, "Oh, I love me, I need love, define me," and that is really how the codependent relationship really is.
Oh,
I mean, it is really just so over the top. Love me, please, love me. Oh, define me. Oh, please, I need love. And it's kind of sick.
Is that when at the end when Rachel walks back in? Not Rachel. One of them walks back in and says, they all ask if how he's doing, and he goes, "Oh, he'll miss." Someone says to Monica, goes, "He'll miss you," because they were so wanting. No, that's not the right one.
I don't know. Remember? I just remember the one guy. I wish I could remember the actor, but yeah, he was only in like one episode.
But then the thing about that, when you have to make yourself into somebody else and you're like pleading to be loved, that love that you do get, like you still, it almost makes you feel more unlovable because you had to try so hard. Like you weren't just lovable being you, so like it's completely hollow, shallow, vacant love. It does no good, but yet still you try so hard to get it. Almost like for a while, it was even worse. Like if somebody didn't like me, I was going to try so hard to make sure that they did like me, so that I could feel good, Blah.
Yeah.
I think Zelda's question. Did you see Zelda's question about narcissists feeling empathy? I think that's a character, and I'm not a therapist, but I think that a characteristic of antisocial personality disorders, which narcissistic personality disorder falls in that category of antisocial personality disorders. One of the characteristics is lack of empathy, but I believe that some narcissists are able to feel some level of empathy, but and
if not, they can at least fake it very well.
Or they learn, right? Those are the really dangerous ones, is the ones who learn how to pretend like they're feeling empathy.
Pretend like they have it.
Yeah. But then if you go beyond narcissistic personality disorder into like sociopathy or psychopathy, then those people do not feel any sort of remorse or empathy or anything like that.
Yeah, they don't even know how they will commonly, and they're I shouldn't say they're easy to spot. That's not necessarily true. They're easy to spot in certain situations where they are made to be, where it would be expected for somebody to have empathy because they know what they practice facial expressions, but they don't come upon them naturally. They will mirror people when they find people crying. They're like thinking in the back of their head, "That's so interesting." It's like Scott Rouse's classic tale. A psychopath goes down, sees a car wreck, sees a woman crying over a dead baby that got hit by a car. He looks at it, looks around, and goes, "Okay, I think I'll have lemon chicken. Goes get lemon chicken. Then at the end of the night, he goes back to his house and what was that woman doing? And they'll actually practice in the mirror of what these facial expressions look like. But what's a dead giveaway is human emotions don't come upon. They aren't. They are very They rise and then they ebb. They ebb and flow. You'll have sadness will slowly turn into happiness. Slowly do this, slowly do that. And psychopaths, they'll just smile 1 second and then be a second and it's amazing to watch. If you can find a courtroom video, it's fascinating to see. Yeah, they'll turn to one
That
person.
reminds me of my mom.
Yeah,
I watched quite a few are those true crime interviews of the people, so you can kind of they then work out or get the confession out of them after hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. I've spent so long on watching this recently. I never used to like watching true crime, so it just felt like, practice. I'm just trying to figure out how to do stuff. But now I watch it because I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to avoid being part of a true crime thing. So it's like I want to be able to spot these people and, because they all start off talking to the police officers real nice and,
Right.
generally. And, it's just like I'm trying to spot the what do you call it? The characteristics of a psychopath or, someone who could do that because I can't see it. And so if I keep watching all these things, eventually I'll pick up a pattern because I'm very pattern oriented. So I'm just hoping that I'll pick up a pattern and, because now I'm just staying away from everyone because everyone's a possible murderer.
The prison interview that James Dobson focused on the family, whoever the Dobson guy was the head of that.
Yeah.
He did an interview with Ted Bundy in prison, and you can see Ted Bundy's working Dobson, and Dobson was convinced. Oh, he agrees with me. He had Dobson so confused, but the one chilling thing, and the whole entire thing, because the entire time he's just playing them. And there's one scene where Dobson asks him about, I think like one woman he killed by, I can't remember what makes her different than everybody else. I think he did something in the car or something. And Dobson was asking him about that. And it is creepy because he looks down and he's smiling to himself. And Dobson missed it. And it's like, and he looks up and it is just evil looking. And it's pretty fast. But yeah, there's a scene in there. And that's the way a lot of psychopaths are. Where they'll mimic stuff, but it comes cracking through because it's not honest. It's not an honest emotion. Like, you can get Tara mad. Tara will look mad for a while, and then she'll slowly. And you get Tara happy. Not that I'm picking on Tara. Well, I am picking on Tara, but you get Tara happy.
You'll always pick on Tara.
Yeah, she'll stay happy for a little while, and then something will happen. Her smile will slowly fade and turn to something else. Sorry, Tara.
That's okay.
I don't have emoji poop. Oh, I did have my dog. I could have picked on my.
No, I don't mind it at all. It makes me feel included.
I just wanted to point out that sometimes there are certain, like my daughter. I was just reading A. Kenneth that and my daughter, she has, I wouldn't say she's not empathetic. She doesn't know how to show empathy. So that's part of her not knowing how to do social cues. Because I would be sitting here crying my eyes out because I cry a lot, and she'd just come up and she'd awkwardly pat me on the shoulder. So she knows that I need comfort. She just doesn't know how to do it. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that come across as that could look like lack of empathy or narcissistic traits, and actually it's just someone not really knowing.
Yeah, that's just
how to relate to a person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's just awkward.
So there's this thing called double empathy, which happens with autistic people. So we're being empathetic, and our way of showing empathy and to relate is to show our stories or to tell what we've been through, so we can say, been through something similar. So it's our way of relating. And then people who are neurotypical tend to think that they're taking the focus away from whatever they're issuers at the time, and that's not actually what we're doing. We try. Although I'm becoming more aware that I try not to do it so much now. I try not to relate so much to other people because I've been through so much. I can relate to so many people, So it's like, I know this. I got a story for everything. But sometimes people just want you to listen. They don't need you to say it. But I'm learning that as an adult because no one ever told me, So, and like as a nearly mid-40s adult and all that sort of stuff. But the double empathy problem is like, we're being empathetic, but the other person can't see it, and therefore there's like a clash of what looks like a lack of empathy from both sides. So, but I have an overload of empathy. Like, I feel sorry for things that aren't real, like don't have feelings. Like, I wanted to kick a cardboard. I literally really wanted to kick a cardboard box yesterday, and I was looking at the box, and I'm going to kick you just for existing. And I'm like, it's not the cardboard box's fault. It's just existing. I happen to be mad at the time. And then I'm like, sorry, box, but it's ridiculous. The box doesn't have feelings. And I apologized to I swore at my Google yesterday, and then I apologized to her after. Well, actually, that's sensible because I'm waiting for Skynet. when things come over, I'm being very polite to the machines. But it's like, there's ways. I just think sometimes if we if we treat everyone like we don't know what they think, and that people are generally trying to be the best person they are, might be a little bit more gentle when people when someone doesn't understand what the other person is saying, and I think sometimes a little bit more gentleness should come into it, and everything shouldn't be so quick. We don't need to find information in an instant.
That's true.
Have a little bit of a conversation, So I just feel like we need to slow things down a little so that we can enjoy people a little bit more and find out a little bit more without hurting them, because we were talking about bluntness yesterday, and I am incredibly blunt, but I'm blunt with kindness. I try and be kind. I'm I joke around with my kid, but he thinks I'm being pretty mean. but it's not. It's just me saying, if I don't tell you, who else is going to tell you? And at least it's me, and I'm joking around and not being nasty. Because I always figure that it's better to come from people who love you than some stranger in the street. Whatever it is, could be anything. Right? I know you got something in your teeth. I'd rather someone told me before I left house, than some stranger have to tell me outside of the house. So
Yeah.
So awkward sometimes. Sorry to interrupt, but it's like,
No, yeah.
I've done that where I've seen something on someone's teeth, but I didn't know them very well, and nobody else told them, and I felt bad about it.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, if you do it so that nobody else knows that you're doing it, people appreciate that, because that's bluntness with kindness, because you're saying, I've just got something, in your teeth. You just want to let you know. And because imagine going to a mirror and you've gone through the whole day with this huge bit of parsley in your teeth.
I know.
And no one said anything.
I know.
I think no one saying anything is so much worse than someone saying something quietly.
I know.
Then I'd be, because I've done it too. Like, I've done it, but we had a bit of toilet paper sticking out the back of my arm. It was recently at an airport, and my skirt was up. I was wearing tights, so you couldn't see anything, but still. And I was walking out, and I felt like this cool air. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so embarrassing. Someone in the ladies, because it was an airport, so there's plenty of people in the ladies. Someone in the ladies could have told me, because I was standing washing my hands, and I go, whenever I wash my hands, I go on a daze. I'm like, washing my hands. There were plenty of people walking past me. Any one of them could have said it, because I was wearing stripy, what do you call it, tights. So it was quite obvious my skirt was up here. But I still feel hot from thinking about it. This hot embarrassment. And none of those people even know.
Well, you just know you'll never see any of those people ever again. And even if you do, they would have forgotten about it. Unless you happen to wear the same exact color. But
yeah, but it's just those things. And that just shows that certain things stick with someone more than anybody else in the situation. It's usually the person most impacted, So, there's going to be stories that my kids are going to come back with me in 20 years' time, and I'm not going to remember it. 20 years' time, I'm not going to remember any of it. But that's because I didn't have, there's different sides to every story, and people can go through the same situation, but they're experiencing different things. Yeah. So, and that's sort of why sometimes if ever my kids ever come back to me and say something, I'll just believe them, because there's plenty of times that I'll say stuff to my family they don't remember, but I remember because it was a fundamental cornerstone of my whatever it is. You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I ever see someone with lipstick on their teeth, I need to remember that it's going to be worse when they get to the mirror and know that someone saw it and chose not to say anything. That's worse. I think that will help me actually the next time I run into that. Just knowing that it's like, okay, it's actually an act of service. It's something kind to do. Because I think
it's a huge act of kindness.
I think it's like what stopped me from telling that woman that she had lipstick on her teeth was that I didn't want her to feel embarrassed around other people, because there were other people around. It's not a situation where I could have been like, hey, there was no being discreet about it. So like other people were going to hear. And then it was like nobody else said anything either. So then it was like a social norm to not say anything. And we just accepted her that she had lipstick on her teeth. But
because everybody expects somebody else to do it. It's like that bystander thing, you know, like when there's an accident,
right?
It takes a while for the first person to step in, because everybody always hopes somebody else is going to take responsibility for the situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that's actually it's a social phenomenon.
Yeah.
So there's shit that's why if I don't know, if someone's getting bullied, someone needs to be the first person to say something, because otherwise no one will say.
Nobody will.
You have my word. I will say something next time.
Even if you stand behind her friend, because they're probably in a circle, or something like that. Even if she's here, her friends are here, you stand behind them
and just
do something like that.
Yeah.
Or another nice way is you can write a quick note, and then don't want to embarrass. I didn't want to say this to you because I don't want to embarrass you,
That's
but
good.
Whatever they've got, and then you just fold it up and say, "Sorry, you dropped this." And then I open it, and they don't have to read it, and then they'll know,
That's a nice
way of
option.
doing it.
That's a good idea.
It is.
Yeah, because everyone, and then they'll be surprised. They'll be like, "Oh, I didn't drop this," so they'll open it. Some people will be like, "No, I didn't," and then they'll be like, "You know what? Fine." You get what you deserve. So it's just, I just think that there's plenty of ways of getting around it, and I think a lot about this sort of stuff because I'm always trying to be ready for whatever situation can happen. So I think a lot about because I have to plan all my social interactions. So, but yeah.
Yeah. And, honestly, the thing is I remember being corrected or being let in on the secret. I get up at 4:00. I'm, on my way to work at, 5:30. I'm not awake at that point. I'll go to work with my fly down. It happens more often than I would like. But there was one time I was going into the convenience store first, and this old guy, kind of a grouchy looking little cuss, he just walked up to me and pokes me. I'm like, oh, and it amazed me. I was so thankful to him that he gave me that signal. And it's like, you know what? I don't remember how many instances like, oh man, I got to work and crap, Okay, I don't remember, but I remember that guy more often than I remember the accident. So it's like, you know what? That is a good what do you call that? Resolution to take on. Even though my New Year's resolution was not to take on any more resolutions, I think I'll break it for that.
You failed straight away.
Interesting. That's an interesting thing. It's like complex emotions associated with not wanting to embarrass the person, but then wanting to also help them out.
Yeah.
So I'll just, next time that happens,
just know that they're going to be embarrassed regardless, but they will be thankful. But I just feel like, because I know it's happened to me. Because honestly, I can't even dress myself. Like there's a reason I have a carer. I'll walk out and I have my jacket's on inside out and all that sort of stuff because I'm just, I don't know, I've got a place to be, so I'm just like, I'll put it on, and I don't even pay attention because I don't look at myself in the mirror or anything like that before I leave.
It's it's kind of full circle, this conversation, because now I'm seeing a parallel between telling someone they have lipstick on their teeth and what happened with my family member. It's like, all right, they wanted the secret not to burn twice, and that's why they kept it a secret. But with the lipstick on the teeth, like, it burns twice if you don't tell them up front. It burns because they're going to think that how embarrassing was that to have the lipstick on my teeth, and then they're going to see it in the mirror, so it burns twice. And that's what the family member was trying to avoid. They didn't want people to know that they were getting married and people weren't invited. That's the first burn. And then the second burn is finding out about it after the fact, or knowing that they weren't invited hurts. And then knowing that or like then being told, like I had to go through multiple burns. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, things can hurt more than once.
And that's why you own California. That is pretty astute.
I appreciate that. I thought I was going to lose it when I was a mess earlier, but I think we worked through it enough where I can keep it.
Right on. Hey, Kenneth, my rule is if something is immediately fixable, say something quietly. If it's unfixable, no. Bullying is very different. Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although if someone had a big rip in their jeans, that's not immediately fixable. Well, I guess so. They can take the pants off. Yeah, I guess, yeah. See, I'm going to think about that now as to what's immediately fixable and what's not.
Wait, I missed it. It went over my head. I apologize. Why is somebody taking their pants off?
If something is immediately fixable, say something. But if it's not fixable, like straight away, then don't. But I was thinking like a rip in the pants, but I was being literal. Like I can't get out my needle and thread and sew that up. But then I was like, no, you can take them off and go get some more.
Copy that.
You are.
Okay, right on. Okay.
Jumper around your waist or something. Yeah. So, but see, that's a rabbit hole I'm going to go down now.
That's all right.
Yeah, I have a funny story to tell you. So, you know this thing with my daughter, how I was doing that tribunal and that's all sorted. Well, it wasn't sorted because it takes the government a long time to do anything. So I rang I've been, the last couple of days I've been ringing up different departments, the Australian Appeals Tribunal and then Services Australia to see, Anyway, so the Appeals Tribunal told me one thing and then I rang up Services Australia and they were telling me something different as far as I was trying to pay back $200 of a debt that I didn't even know. And the government was making it so hard to pay it because I wanted it done before Mother's Day because it's related to my daughter and I wanted everything to do with this done before Mother's Day so I can start off this new year of Mother's Day without even thinking about any of this stuff to do with my daughter. It's over. It's actually over now. It's over. Done. I paid it. It's done. But I had to spend 4 or 5 hours on the phone refusing to let them hang up from me, making them do the work that I know that they could do. I know what it takes. Like, this is the stuff that I do all the time. This is one of the things I'm really good at is dealing with this particular aspect of the government. All my mates get me to do it because I'm a little bit, I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a Karen because I asked to speak to the manager, the supervisor. And this lady, she just wouldn't listen because she was trying to tell me the process of going through the AAT. And I kept trying to tell her and she talking over me, I've gone through the AAT. They've made the decision. It's been dismissed and there's an agreement in place. But she wouldn't even let me finish that whole sentence. And I had to keep saying, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I talk, please? And she just kept over me, explaining the process. She goes, we can't do anything. It takes 30 days. I'm like, can I speak to a manager? And she's like, why do you want to speak to a manager? I'm like, I don't need to tell you. It's my right to talk to a manager. I'm a constituent of Australia. You work for us, basically. I got really mad. That's one of the reasons why that was after me wanting to kick the box. And so I was like, and she was like, oh, we can't do anything. It's going to take some time. All you need to do is wait. I'm like, I waited more than 2 years for this. This is stopping me moving on the rest of my life. And she's like, I understand. I'm like, no, you don't. And she's like, I can help you now. I'm like, and once you're combative with someone, they're not going to help you. Because they'll just be like, no, sorry, we can't do it. They won't try whatever it takes to do, whatever. And I'm always nice. I start off really, really nice because you get more. Anyway, so, and I ended up talking to a manager. Her manager was really nice. And it got fixed. It took 4 hours, but I wouldn't get off the phone. So I'm like, okay, just put me through to whichever department you can put me through to fix this or to get it done so I can do it today and it can be over. Different department, different department, different department, different department. I was so mad by the end of it. And then, but I actually even rang my federal member of Parliament to see what he could do. But as I was on the phone talking to this really crotchety old lady thinking, oh, I don't really want to tell her anything, I looked at my account and my Services Australia account and had been fixed while I was on the phone to the minister. Well, not the minister, to his crotchety secretary. And I'm just thinking, all you have to do sometimes is just put some smoke up some people's place so they think there's a fire and they actually start getting things done. But anyway, it's all sorted. But that was my story for yesterday. But it was really funny because I was thinking, I don't really feel like I'm a talk to the manager type person until I get on the phone to these type people, and they're like, give me a manager. But I don't actually think it's a bad thing to try and get things fixed by talking to managers. It's just the context of it. If you're trying to get someone into trouble for the sake of getting into trouble because you don't like how they acted, that's not okay. Like, I never blame the person on the phone. I always blame the system that they have to try and work within, and they don't, especially if they're new, they don't know exactly the system yet. So I try to be really kind. So I never make a complaint about the person. I only ever make a complaint about the system. Because it's not their fault.
Right on.
So it's over.
I'm sorry to bail right now. I have a date with my sister. I totally lost track of time, but I love you all very much.
Love you
and
too.
I hope you all have a great weekend.
You too.
Yeah, I should probably go as well. And just wanted to wish everyone a happy Mother's Day. Or
thank you. You too.
However
happy
you
Mother's
celebrate,
Day, Cosmic.
if you like it. Yeah.
And happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Yeah. And happy birthday, Lord Chris, for tomorrow. Well.
Oh yeah. Oh, happy birthday, Chris.
I don't know if he's here, but I just wanted to say.
I don't know if he is either.
I love you.
Love you too.
Right. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was a good meeting.
It was a great meeting.
You have yourself an awesome day. And of course,
thank you. You too.
The obligatory say hi to donkey, say hi to chickens.
Will do.
Say hi to rooster.
Will do.
You take care. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks. All righty then. Well, that was a great meeting, you guys. Thank you for sticking it out. We've been at it 2 hours, 22 minutes, but it's all good. All righty. Well, thank you so much for being here, for being part of this wonderful community. Thank you for being you and for sharing with us, you. Hope to see you again next meeting, which will be Monday. And until then, peace, y'all.